that you see there, well, now it wasn't there then, of course, it was the cross in Cronin's Field, and also it was the RIC house was there, and the barracks was there. And anyway, it was rumoured that Mick O'Dan had given some information to the RIC during the 10 War, so he was given 24 hours to move out, and the station house and barracks were burnt down in 1920, and the new station was built from the compensation money. That's why it's such a big station, because they had over £3,000 compensation, so they had to spend it all. And it's quite a big station for really what was a very small station, if you understand what I mean. That was built in 1924-25, and Paddy Nolan became the station master, and after him came Jim Cronin from Grantham, and he was moved on into Killarney. And then there was a Mrs. O'Sullivan, a widow, succeeded him. She married a Flanagan man from Kinmare. He was station master there, and then moved away up country. And my sister Sheila took over in October 1938. I was about 4 months old then. And she was there until 1960. And as you know, she moved on to Rathcoole as gatekeeper. And she died there in 1994. She had spent 56 years with the railway. I was making up recently, there were 5 generations of railway people on my mother's side and 3 on my father's side, and I was making up the years they gave to railway companies, and it came to over 400 years in all. So it was good service, if you like. I don't know who was station master in Moleysville, but it was closed down in 1936 and the house was sold. Now Dan Cahill, we all knew Dan very well, was in Kilgarvan for many years, and in my time in Kinmare there was a man called Tim O'Leary. Now there were other trains other than the 2 trains, one to Headford and back at 11 o'clock, and then the 2 o'clock and back at 4. There were special traffic. There were 4 trains every day, as I said, and then you had the inspection cars, and the inspector was like a little buff, if you know what I mean, and that came along. And there was a spray train, and then there were ballast trains to put in extra stones if any of them were washed out and so on, and there were specials, and then there were the bogies. The bogie was a little wooden affair that was put on 2 wheels, and you legged it on, and the milesman had that in each thing. Now, I remember there was one of those, and it was unfortunately put at the end of the platform on a toe with the wheels facing the platform, and of course there was an incline down. And I remember that on one occasion there was a McCarthy man, I don't know which of the McCarthy's now from Clare, had ordered some stuff for Mackie Shays, and among the stuff ordered was 6 chimney pots. Now as you know, they're all lovely. So when I was about 6, I suppose, and my sister Norrie, on the evening, we had a little competition to see who could roll them fastest down. Needless to say, they hit the bogey and they broke into smithereens, and my poor sister Sheila had the invite. She had to go into Mackie Shays the following morning and make good the goods before they came to collect them. So maybe Johnny had to write, I had a little bit of a name, as they say, for being cross. Anyway, there were the specials, the bogies and so on. And you had the specials that ran from March to November. These what you would call the fair specials, the Kinmare cattle fairs. And you had a whole crowd of people working on them. You had loading porters, and you had inspectors there as well. And then you had regular inspectors, and as I said, you had the inspector cars. Now, 3 men that I remember their names were Harman, Foote and Sides. They were inspectors that I recall. Now, you had drivers there for the specials. They were separate to the others. They usually came out of the Cock line. And there was a man called Deneen and Coffey from my branch. Jim Lynch, who was the father of Joe. He came in 1940 and was there for a few years. And indeed, I remember him there. And as I said earlier, Joe used to spend his summer holidays here as a result of his connections here. Now, there were usually 26 or 7 wagons in these specials, and sometimes the cattle were loaded in Kilgarvan and sometimes in Lowbridge. There was a little siding in Lowbridge as well. And then they were taken off, these cattle, for the fattening fields of Meath and Limerick. Now, Mick Roger Sullivan, of course, was a great man, and his brother Dennis, who moved on to have a farm, and I think another brother, his Dan, in near Callan, and their grandchildren are still, great-grandchildren are still going to school in Callan indeed. And I often remind them of their roots and Russell Croonaloo. They had also a sister, Margaret, who married a shopkeeper called Summers in Callan also. So no matter where I go, I seem to find people from home. Now the specials stopped at Lowbridge and they either went for tea to our house or they went over to Mayones's for a pint. It was a leisurely way of life, you see. Now, then you had such things as floods. I believe there was a big one here in Clare recently, is that right? Yeah. And seemingly the 29th of June is a favourite date for floods in Clare. Maybe it's not a laughing matter because certainly in the 1838 when there were lives lost and so on. Well, you were flooding, of course, in the Loo too, and there were, when the line was being laid originally, 6.5 miles from Hertford, that would be around Connells, maybe a bit beyond there, they couldn't get foundation for the building a bridge there. They couldn't get foundation. So they got the men to cut a new channel for the Loo, and that's where the Loo is now. So they moved the Loo over, and this was all done, as I say, by pick and shovel and so on. And then they struck new foundations, so I think in a place called Gortalay. And later on, the place was subject to severe flooding, and there was a famous one in August 1938. After continuous rain, there was a mighty flood, and the ballast was all washed away, and all the gangs on the line, plus Rathmore and Killarney, they came, worked through Saturday and Sunday, and they had the track ready again for Monday. There were floods also in 41 and 42. Now, I just...
Towards the close of this evening's proceedings, but Jimmy Darty, who was just introduced to there a moment ago, would like to recite, but I'll let you introduce yourself to me and say if you want. Do it once on my phone. I'm sure another man I need not introduce. He's home at the beginning of the week.
Thanks, Brendan. Last week I was going through a couple of boxes of old stuff, newsletters that my mother used to collect and send to me, and a lot of other bits and pieces. And I came across a poem or a song that I'd written, God only knows how many years ago. So I got Charlie to type it up again and change bits and pieces of it. So I'll just say it, you know. I put the name on the Great Khmer line. I'll tell you a tale and it won't take me long of a beautiful railway I remember in song. It started in Hertford, I'm sure you've been there, and it stopped in the picturesque town of Kenmare. It opened for traffic in 1893, a branch off the main line that runs to Tralee. A bare 20 miles for reasonable fare, departing twice daily for the town of Kenmare. You pass by Drumcarban and the quarry cradle, where the ballast was taken for under the rail. Then on up the glen with its beauty so rare, the steam engine whistling its way to Kenmare. The line crossed the road of my own island moor, continued through inch for a good mile or more, then on to Loo Valley with its water so fair, the very first stop on the way to Kenmare. Then back through Loo Valley over Hollowan Ridge. The guard says the next stop will be Morley's Bridge. Kilgarvan will follow, and you'd better beware, before you realise that you'll be in Kenmare. There was regular service and special as well. There was tourist and local and others I'd tell. Be it match day or shopping or going to the fair, you could bank on a crowd for the train to Kenmare. The valleys of Sleth and of Ruthie so fine gave pleasure to anyone using the line, with high towering mountains and rivers so rare to help you along on the trip to Kenmare. The years they passed by and changes contrived, alternative methods of transport arrived. With running costs rising and losses to bear, the end was in sight for the line to Kenmare. Objections were lodged, but the hierarchy said the cost-cutting plans were progressing ahead. The line was closed up in late 59, and that was the end of the Great Kenmare line.
Went to live and on the mountainside, the summer's gone and all the roses falling. 'Tis you, must go and I must hide. But come you back when summer's in the meadow, when all the valleys hushed and white with snow. 'Tis I'll be in sunshine or in shadow. Oh, Daddy boy, but should you come when all the roses falling, when I am dead, as dead I will maybe, you come and find a place where I am lying, and kneel and say, another for me, and I shall hear how soft you tread upon me, and all my dreams will more sweeter be. For you will never tell me that you love me, and I shall sleep in peace until you come to me.
My feet are here on Broadway. This blessed hour is gone. But all the ache that's in my heart, or the spot where I was born, blisters from working home again. But oh, just swing aside today, the old fields of Irish fields. And I, a child, to wander back, or live as my forefathers did. Down the old my mother died last springtime, when Ireland's fields were green, and the neighbors said our waking was the finest ever seen. There was snowdrops and primroses piled high beside her bed, and the parish church was crowded when our funeral was said. And I was here in Broadway, when to moan. I go my way and draw my faith and smoke my pipe alone. Each human heart must bear its grief, no little bee is alone. So God be with you, Ireland, and the old Weather's good there in the fall. I got some friends that I could go to work in fall. Well, I wish you'd change your mind, but I ask you one more time. But we've been through this 100 times or more. Oh, strong winds that blow lonely, 7 seas that run high. All those things that don't change, come what may. Well, the good times are all gone, and I'm bound for moving on. I look for you if I'm ever back this way. If I should get there before the snow falls, and if things are looking good, then you could meet me if I send you down the fair. But by then it will be winter, not too much for you to do. And those winds sure can blow cold way out there. Oh, strong winds that blow lonely, 7 seas that run high. All
all. It's marvellous to see such a great throng of people here present today at this Mass in the Church of Our Lady of Wayside in Clonkeen. And I heartily welcome each and every one of you to this great celebration. And it is one of the high points of our weekend celebration here in Clonkeen that we should come together on this day, the Feast of the Transfiguration, to worship together in the midst of this glorious gathering. I would like to welcome all of those of you who have come a distance to be here for the Mass and for the weekend. I would like particularly to welcome my colleague and old friend, Father Dennis Burke, who served in this parish, he tells me, in the early 60s. And I don't know whether at the end of his time here he got demoted or promoted because he got sent to the street.
Dennis and Margaret bring bread and wine, the body and blood of our Lord Jesus, symbolizing the long tradition of faith in Clonkeen, handed down to us by our ancestors.
That doesn't happen by accident, you know, that's proof of long practice and rehearsal and is well worth it. As will be the exhibition of dancing immediately after this Mass.
Never trust a wee girl with a dark and roving eye. Just court her and embrace her, never tell her the reason why. Just court her and embrace her till you cause her heart to bleed. For faint-hearted soldier never won a battlefield. Farewell to Ballymoney and to County and John. Molly, I bid you a fond adieu. A miracle lies far away across the ocean.
Ja, till Charles, thanks. I'm a fan friend.
I can't fight back.
Till fair that way to shake the president.
Yeah, just but I never walked.
The foundations are that good. All right.
Down there now.
I do this. Down.
We were married, darling Willie, on the eve of Christmas time. Do you remember, darling, when we walked the moonlit road? I held you in my arms like I'd never let you go. Our hands, they were entwined, my love, by the silvery pale moonlight, in that spot near Shanagolden, on that lonely summer's night. Then came the call to arms, love, and the hills they were aflame. And we'll think of Shanagolden on that lonely summer's night.
Okay.
I am today from scenes I've borne, and long ago the hour I know I first saw Illinois. But time after time our waters right and lead my heart away. Forever true it lies to you, my own dear Galway. All grey and bleak by shores and creek, the rugged rocks abound. But sweeter green the grass between that grows on Irish ground. Some friendships found that wealth abound, and a love that lives always. Forever true it lies to you, my old dear Galway.
Lovely.
Yeah, lovely.
You to come on there.
Michelle. Michelle.
Sing you each.
Sing, go on, you're in a fine tight.
Go on, each, sing there.
It's a long way to go, everything. They will just have a couple of fun with
Voice of an angel.
Right. Right now. Okay. Ding dong, ding
Young. Soft as the voice of an angel, reading a lesson on her. Oh, with a gentle persuasion, whispers her comforting word. Wait till the darkness is over. Wait till the tempest is done. Hope for the sunshine tomorrow. After the shower is gone. Whispering hope. Oh, how welcome thy voice. Making my heart in sorrow rejoice. If in the dusk of the twilight dim be the regions afar, will not the deepening darkness brighten the glimmering star? Then when the night is upon us, why should the heart sink away? When the dark midnight is over, watch for the breaking of day. Whispering hope. Oh, how welcome thy voice. Making my heart in its sorrow
Leaving cash, come on. Let's see if I didn't want to.
One song.
The sun is sinking toward the westward. The fleets are leaving Dingle Shore. I watch them row in the current as they mark the fishing ground near Skellig Moor. All through the night men toil until the daybreak, while at home their wives and sweethearts kneel and pray that God may guide them and protect them and bring them safely back to Dingle Bay. I see the green isle of Valencia, I mind the caves around Loughlane, and gannets swinging with abandon as they watch the silver store that come their way. I also see a ship on the horizon. She is sailing to a country far away. On board are exiles feeling lonely as they bid a fond farewell to Dingle Bay. Now years have passed since I came homeward, and time has left me old and grey. I sit and muse about my childhood and the happy hours I spent near Dingle Bay. In memory too I see the hill of Brandon, and the isle of Inishmore seems far away. I'm always dreaming of my childhood and the happy hours I spent near Dingle Bay.
Good man. Up, Kerry. Up,
You see the bit on the floor, did you do that?
Yeah.
Are you finished? That's it, you think? We're going to use gravity now to get up. Well, that's we're well equipped for that. We'll take out this one. And I'm going to take up the bits of wood as well. And hopefully he get a big cheer for having survived the ordeal of water. Are you all right? Well, call the old bag. I tell you what, it's empty. The boys and girls don't believe me because some magicians tell lies. Will you check it out to make sure there's nothing in it? Corners and all, no, nothing there at the moment. Could you make a noise like a chicken? Could you? See if there's any in it now. I doubt it. Oh. Ooh. A real plastic. Oh. 8. We don't want to break. Did you know that some hens are very flat? If you squeeze an egg from the ends like that, no matter how hard you squeeze, even a JCB digger, Michael Lynch's will not break the egg. But what happens if you squeeze like that? Oh, you won't squeeze it. There it is. Put it back in the bag. To enable everybody to see it's in the bag, we have the netting. Can you see it now, lads? Yeah! Now, what I'm going to do, because I'm the magician here today, I'm going to make that disappear. Some of you over here, you may see where it goes, but say nothing, because we're going to fool the ones on that side. You simply take the egg like this, say the magic words, giddy giddy, focus focus, and when you're finished, there's absolutely nothing at all in Timothy in the bag. It's not under my arm. No, it's not under the other one either. It's not under that one, and it's not under that one. It's definitely not under that one. Put it in my pocket, Timothy. Is it in there in my pocket? Show it well in there now. I give you the magic wand this time now. I want you to be careful with this now, and no fooling, because he's going to take the magic wand and he's going to tap the egg once with the magic wand and... I'll give you the wooden one. Hang on a second, now I got one here. Look, that's the better one. I'll give you the good plastic one. Look, that's the good plastic one now. Don't let it bend whatever you do. Wave it over the back. The bag has got the measles. Did you ever have the measles? Bad dose, you know. That's what happened partly being. We must get another fella. I got a man here. This man. Your name is? Gavin. Gavin, is it? I'm very pleased to meet you, Gavin. Can I call you Gav for short? You can call me Mr. Silvano. Gavin is going to do his circus act. Would you like to see that? Now, it's very... Gavin, the only thing, it's 180 if you break it. Is that all right? It's 180. No, Gavin, don't drop it. That's it. I've got one as well for Marita, look. I'm going to spin these very fast. No dropping stakes. Okay. Gavin is going to do the tricks as promised, like so. This is the Irish one, look. He's going to go like that. Of course you can. Hey! Come on, Sandy, you can do it. He didn't go too far. She got it! Oh. We're going to get another fella. He was doing a good deed. Now wait a minute. Hey, wait a second. Kev, you haven't been in this. I got a policeman. Your name is? Daniel. I put you over there, and I'll put Rita there, and I'll put Gavin here. You know what I'm going to do now? I'm going to turn your backs to the audience. I'm going to turn your backs, and I'm going to dress you up. There's one here for Daniel. Hold on to it, Daniel. Put your face there like that. Not your head, just your face. And there's one. This is... Oh, sorry, there's a mistake here. Would the two of you turn back, please? The two of you, would you change places? I mixed up the boys and the girls. Change over there. And Marita comes to this. You can't mix up the boys and the girls. You'll be killed. Now, this is better. I mixed them up. This is you, Marita. This is the competition, and it's going to be judged by poll right. It's going to be judged by poll... It's coming for us. By poll right. And I'm looking that I have the biggest Polaroid picture that you can get. You can touch the back if you like, but you can't touch this Polaroid surface because I'm going to put it in the latest flat disc camera. Now, because the camera is smiling at you, lads, you also smile at the camera, and it says funny photos. So, I like you, lads, but I don't like you that much. Over there, behind the speaker. That's the place to see it from. They'll be all on top of me. That's right. I'm going to take a little... Oh, those weights heavy, Gavin. The legs of the dancer there. My God, Timothy, the most unsexy swimsuit that sells the beach. Huh? I saw a man swimming in one of them one time when I was young in England. We've gone a bit briefer than that, no one will. Oh. Didn't she come out well? Marita, because you were extremely good for winning And posing in the first stage, I'm going to make for you, from a balloon, any animal in the world you like. What will you go for? Would you like a doggy?
From the back, you know.
having met him, I was discussing it with the late Sean Hatsy O'Donoghue. And I said, I met somebody and you'll never guess who it was, and I'd given another clue or two, and he said, ah, Frenchie, who else? So, Francine has returned to be with us tonight, and we're very glad to have Francie O'Donoghue with us. I often have occasion, or sometimes have occasion, to visit his adopted city of Kilkenny, and I bump into him now and again on the street, and we have a little chat. And, you know, he never says something like, and he knows who Killarney or how things in Kerry, or and he hasn't around Clonkeen or anything like that. He always raises the question to us, how are things at home? And he knew at home. It was always at home with Francie. Always, how are things at home? How are the people at home? And he keeps extremely up to date with affairs from home. Because if somebody was sick or whatever, he would inquire about it also in the same conversation. So he has come home tonight to talk to us for a while. And we hope afterwards, if you have any comments or additions to make or observations to make on the talk, we would be glad to hear them. And I think he's mentioning a poem, and that whole idea of how they are at home and so on ties in very well with the ideas we had for this weekend. It was a chance for people living away from home to come back home and meet the neighbours and friends and so on again and have a chat and so on. So this is all
tonight is to bring to mind some of the people, or as many of the people as I can remember, and indeed I'm very indebted to my brother Donny, who I would say is the original memory man and certainly in our family, because I mind his memory as well as my own, and others of course, to come up with some of the bits and pieces of information and some of the little stories which I'll tell you as we go along. But to get out the historical part of it out of the way first, we talk about the building of the railway itself, which started in 1890. That's 110 years ago, at least I can add and subtract a bit in any case, and it was finished in 1893. Now the GS, Great Southern and Western Railway, were of course the company involved. The cost was a mere £140,960. The pay was big in those days. The British Treasury paid 50,000, and we were under the British Treasury in those days. The Great Southern and Western Railway paid 90,960, and the local contribution in there somewhere was £2,400. That's the historical bit. But behind that little piece of history, you had the men and the women and of the railway line. They built it, pick and shovel and so on, for 20 miles. It was an enormous feat of work, in my view, in 3 years. It was, I believe, Scottish engineers who were in charge, and they did record in places that they were amazed at the strength of individual men who worked on the railway. Men they saw moving stones that were 300 weight in weight. However, the thing was done, and I'll carry on now to talk to you about the people who worked in the railway. And I'm going to talk to you about the milesmen, because of course, not only was I the father of a milesman, I was the son of a milesman, I was the grandson of a milesman, and I was the great-grandson of a milesman, because each man was to a mile. They walked the mile, and they checked the state of the rails and so on, and there were what they called keys, that you kept the tension in it and so on, and they saw that, for example, if there was a flood, had been a flood and so on, that there would be no ballast washed away. So each of them walked the mile each morning. A group of people, and my great-grandfather, the man I mentioned earlier on, he was a gatekeeper outside Killarney, and then my mother was a gatekeeper in Lowbridge, of course, and hence we were known as the Gates, Francie the Gates, and Sean the Gates, and so on, to distinguish him from the Crew Road, and Thompson, and all the others in the valley. Then you had Maggie Leach, and she was there this side of Mouldy's Bridge. She would have been, of course, and then you had people in Crail and Kilgarvan and so on. Maggie Lynch was the grand aunt of Joe Lynch, the actor, and indeed Joe spent a lot of his summers here in Glenflesker, around Dulwich and so on. And I remember some years ago he was being interviewed on RTE, and the interviewer was doing his best to get him to talk about his career, but Joe insisted on talking about the great time he used to have as a child around Clonkeen, Lowbridge and so on. The guards then, they were the people, you know, the guards rank was like a converted cattle wagon. They had a little sheltered place in the middle, and they had a little bar for the door, but it was very cozy. There was a stove in there and so on. And you had Jimmy Curry, O'Donovan. He'd be the uncle now of Jimmy Curry back there. And he lived in Kenmare. Then you had Timmy Mahoney and Paddy Lynch, John O'Rourke, there were other guards. Now, to tell you the kind of pace of life that was going on in those days, Jimmy's brother Tim was a great storyteller, by the way. He used to come to our house regularly telling stories. He was a great man to tell ghost stories. And it was very hard going up the stairs after one of Tim's ghost stories, but it was only years afterwards when I heard that actually Tim used to be afraid of his own ghost stories. My mother got me to tell a story that they lived back in the cottage. It's gone now, of course, and the gates are gone, but you know what I'm talking about there, just below John Cronin's. And my father and Tim were drinking in Mayonases one night, and they were there sort of late. Even the late John O'Donovan hours existed that time. Anyway, my mother heard them coming along around 1:30, and they were, as they say, Mogileor, and she heard the two Amadons talk away. They stopped in front of the cottage and they talked away for a while. And then Tim said, well, he'd better go home, and it just struck him that he'd have to pass through Paris, which was behind Connell's, and they had a name of being haunted. And Hanuman Deal, as they say, Tim was afraid to go home. My father said, sure, that's grand. He said, I'll convey you home. So the next thing, the two lads got back again because my father was afraid to come back. Now, my mother knew the score, but she decided to let them sober up, and eventually my father came back alone. So that's the kind of pace of life that were there and the people that were in it. Move on, the drivers, and here are some of them again, just to give you a flavour. Dan O'Shea was one, and then there was a man called Dan the Poet Murphy. And he was called the Poet Murphy after his father, who was a driver in Cork. And a signalman complained about this Murphy man one time to the company because he did not leave the oil for the lamp near enough to the cabin. And he was asked to explain in a letter from the company. And he replied in writing in verse thus: "It is indeed true, as this man did say, I left the oil on the permanent way. But had I known that his feet were sore, I would have left the oil at the cabin door." And the signalman was called for a medical. It was found that it was bad on his feet, and he was demoted to porter, so it's better not to complain too loudly. I'm still with station masters. I digressed there for a little while, and he was the first station master in Lowbridge. And the station house...
You can write several books.
Yeah, just keep it covered.
thank you, Peggy. How are you? That's great.
Throwing a party. She may be straightening his tie. Maybe in a house hidden by a hill. She's sitting playing piano. He's sitting paying a bill. Betcha they're young, betcha there's not.
sounds for John, Julie and family and whoever else helps. So if you go up here, and I'll try and find one. Julie and John are down there. Okay. I'll continue with the announcements first. Both in 26 points. And they are car number 15. That was Padraig, Noreen, Michael Cashman, and Pat and Sonny Cashman. So if the Cashman group could come up please for their prize, accompanied by their cousins on car number 5, and Mihal Cronin's car. There are 2 first prize winners. Well done, Michael Cashman. Well done, Mihal Cronin. So they need 80 pounds each for their trouble today. Do something to the funniest answer. In a vain hope you might get something funny. However, one person came reasonably close, although she had her problems. But it was for nothing except for the way she told us a funny account of events when she got back. She complained that the vehicle we gave her was not up to standard. She couldn't get the key in and she couldn't get the key out. The tank nearly went dry and she went to O'Brien's and she couldn't open the tank to get juice, put the juice in. And she was in a distraught state when she came back. Well, just, she demanded a proper vehicle at the next treasure hunt. And we decided that we would get her a new vehicle. Who said it was you? You're getting a car. You are getting a car. I'm not sure to make, because I haven't seen it, but I'm about to unveil it now. So, this is your new... It's the new vehicle, most final vehicle.
But find me now, my hair is turning grey, drifting in like painted butterflies from paddocks far away. Dripping dainty wings in fancy, and the pictures fading fast, stand again in rose and purple in the album of the past. There's that old slab cabin dreaming by the wistful, watchful trees, where the coolabahs are listening to the stories of breeze. There's a wholesome welcome beaming from those big, bright, cheery eyes, and the sugar loaf behind it, blackened in against the skies. And there's that same dear happy circle round the Boreas' cheery blaze, and a little Irish mother telling tales of other days. She had one sweet holy custom which I never can forget, and a gentle benediction crowns her memory for it yet. I can see that little mother still and hear her as she pleads. Now 'tis getting on for bedtime. All you children, get your beads.
Good girl.
There were no steel-bound conventions in that old slab-dwelling free. Only this, each night she lined us up to say the rosary. And in the stranger there who stayed the night upon his journey knew that he must join that little circle, aye, and take his decade too. And I think she darkly plotted when a sinner hoved inside who was known to say no prayer at all, to make him say the night. And then would gently gather round her, and in accents sweet and low, she would pray like Saint Dominic so many years ago. And that little Irish mother's face was radiant, for she knew that where 2 or 3 were gathered, he was gathered with them too.
Right.
O'er the paters and the abbey's, how her reverend head would bend, and she'd kiss the cross devoutly when she counted to the end. And the visitor would rise at once and brush his knees, and then he'd look very, very foolish as he took the boards again. For she had other prayers to keep him. They were long, long prayers in truth, and we used to call them trimmings in my disrespectful youth. She would pray for kith and kin and everyone she'd ever known. Yes, and every one of us could boast a trimming all his own. She would pray for all our little needs, and every shade of care that should venture o'er the sugar loaf, she'd meet it with a prayer. She would pray for this one's sore complaint, that one's hurted hand, or that someone else might make a deal and get that bit of land. Or that Dad might sell the cattle well, and season's good might rule, so that little John, the weakly one, might go away to school. There were trimmings too that came and went, but near she closed without saying that very special trimming none of you must speak about. Gentle was that little mother, and her wit would sparkle free, but she'd murder him who looked around while saying the rosary. And if perchance you lost your beads, disaster waited you, for the only one she'd pardon was himself, because she knew he was hopeless. It was sinful, the excuses he'd invent. So she let him have his fingers, and he cracked them as he went, and bedad, he wasn't certain if he'd counted 5 or 10, but he'd face the crisis bravely, and he'd scatter around again. But she tallied every decade, and she'd block him on the spot, saying, "Glory, Daddy, glory!" And he gloried like a shot. She would portion out the decades to the company at large, but when she reached the trimmings, she would put herself in charge. And it oft was cause for wonder that she never once forgot, but she kept them all in order till she went right through the lot. For that little Irish mother's prayers embraced the country wide. If a neighbour met with trouble or was taken ill or died, we could count upon a trimming, till in fact it got that way that the rosary was but the trimmings to the trimmings, we would say. And then himself was snapping off Charlie, for the public good, we thought. Sure, I'll keep us here till morning. You'll cut them trimmings short. But she'd take him very gentle till he softened by degrees. Come on, little children, put your hands upon your knees. So that little Irish mother kept her trimmings to the last, ever growing as the shadows o'er the old procession passed. And she lit out drab existence with her simple faith and love. And I know the angels lingered near to bear her prayers above. For her children trod the path she trod, nor later did they spurn to impress her wholesome maxims on their children in their turn. Aye, and every sore complaint came right, and every hurted hand, and we made a deal from time to time, and got that bit of land. And Dad did sell the cattle well, and little John, her pride. 'Twas he that said the mass in black.
He did.
The morning that she died.
That's right.
So her gentle spirit triumphed, for 'tis this, without doubt, was that very special trimming that she kept so dark about. But now the years have crowded past us, and the fledglings all have flown, and the nest beneath the sugar loaf no longer is their own. For a hand has written, finish, and the book is closed for good. There's a stately red-tiled mansion where that old slab dwelling stood. There the stranger has her evenings, and the formal supper spread. But I wonder, has she trimmings now, or is the rosary said? Ah, those little Irish mothers, passing from us one by one, who will write the noble story of the good that they have done? For their children may be scattered, and their fortunes windward whirled, but the trimmings of the rosary will bless them round the world.
And the Cully.
Used to keep us with our night, and the smile upon your face, the tears upon your cheek, and the night sky on the window, your heart calling out to me. Come running home again, Katie, come running home again. Cross my heart and hope to die. Shall I cause another tear from your eye in the mirror that won't talk, and your nightgown on the door, and the old pedal singer just won't sing no more? You can roll the reel for hours on the movie of this book. It's a question mark on this heart of mine, sending a letter back to look. Come running home again, Katie, come running home again. Cross my heart and hope to die. Shall I cause another tear from your eye? Now I'm looking through the tunnel, back into the room, with the genius of the druid, where the sunlight floods the tomb. And I'm never going back there, but I couldn't anyway, 'cause though I made a great escape, I never got away. Come running home again, Katie, come running home again. Cross my heart and hope to die. Shall I cause another tear from your eye, Katie? Very good.
Of a priest or a hangman, the snow spread its blanket next Christmas round, and the tinker, man's daughter, got out from the bedside. She turned her back to the land and her face to the cloud. And it said, someone saw her just that same evening, making her way down by Lyra Pond. And that was the last that the sun folks saw her, the tinkerman's daughter, the red-headed lamb. In the north Kerry Hills there's a farm in the soul, and the farm on its banks lives a bitter old man, and he swears by the shotgun he keeps on his bedside that he'll kill any man that will camp on his land. But yet when he hears on short wheels on the gravel, or a horse in the shafts of a bright caravan, his days are demented, his nights sleep demented. red-headed Anne. To say good night, and then I heard my child in prayer, and for me some scarlet ribbons, scarlet ribbons for her hair. All the doors were closed and shuttered. All the streets were dark and bare. In our town, no scarlet ribbons, not one ribbon for her hair. Through the night, my heart was aching. Just before the dawn was breaking, I peeped in, and on her bed, in gay profusion, lying there, lovely ribbons, scarlet ribbons, scarlet ribbons for her hair. If I live to be 100, I will never know from where came those lovely scarlet ribbons, scarlet ribbons for her hair.
Hello, Stefan.